when somebody retires, they can be retired for 15 or 20 years. And so healthcare is a big problem because once you're retired, generally, you've got your plan. So how do we hedge against the rising healthcare costs in our retirement?
Yeah, well, first of all, if you said 15 to 20 years, I would say people are likely to be in retirement for 30 years. And inflation, the rate of inflation on healthcare is certainly has been and consistently is running at a higher rate of inflation. And that doesn't seem to be anything that's changing. So what you want to look at, and there's been a lot of studies, Fidelity did some research a number of years ago, and I believe it was going on $300,000 of expense that a person was going to spend on their health care over a married couple's lifetime. Now that includes your Part B Medicare premium and everything, but those things are all growing at a more rapid rate of inflation. So back to what we were saying about how do you know how to prepare for inflation when you're reaching retirement. I was saying if you do a lot of travel or things like that, maybe that is a higher rate of inflation than some other things. We definitely want to break out what your medical expenses would be. So Medicare Part B premiums at a minimum, your insurance premiums at that stage of life. We definitely want to break that out. We don't want to just say, you live off of you need to spend $100,000 a year and let's increase that with some rate of inflation. We want to, at the minimum, carve out some amount for health insurance or health costs because we need to grow that at a more rapid rate of inflation. If we don't do that, we're probably or almost certainly going to come up short somewhere. And so that's where I think it's very important to recognize that, number one, and number two, keep that as a separate line item and grow it at a different rate of inflation. The other part of that I'll say is when you look at your lifestyle today, if you're not retired and you're living off of a net paycheck and this is the dollar amount you think you need in retirement, ask yourself, does my employer pay for my health insurance? Do they pay for some of my health insurance, or am I paying out of pocket for that right now? And for most people in a W-2 kind of environment, you're paying for that or your employer is paying for that. If you are self-employed and you're paying for it out of pocket, it might sort of disappear in the cost of running your business. And when you think about what you actually bring home and deposit and what you live off, it's easy to kind of lose track of that number. Although I would say self-employed person's probably much more hyper-focused on the high cost of health insurance. But you need to add that to your number. So let's just say your lifestyle is $100,000 net in your current W-2 income, but your employer's covering your health insurance. You need to add that to your expected spending, your health cost number to your lifestyle number, and we need to grow that at a higher rate of inflation. I think that's really probably the biggest challenge when we run scenarios and look at potential outcomes. That's the one number where it can really kind of derail a strategy. I work with a lot of veterans and they have TRICARE for life. They don't have to worry about paying for their health insurance. And boy, does that make a huge difference. If you could just toggle that on or off, makes a huge difference in when we run scenarios. So it's really important to measure that, be prepared for that, and also understanding what your options may be. I'd also add to that, if you're thinking you'd like to retire when you're 62 or 63 or even 60, just bear in mind, you're going to be paying out of pocket the full freight of your health insurance, which can be a real surprise if you're not paying, if your employer is paying it today. When you turn 65, Medicare becomes your primary insurer. So the insurance you buy is just the supplemental or the parts that Medicare doesn't cover because that's your primary insurance. Totally different cost. So if you're going to retire at age 60 and think you can support your lifestyle, but you have to pay for some significant health insurance costs for at least 5 years, that could really kind of change your thinking on early retirement. So I think that really has to come into play and is a huge part of planning for retirement. If our conversation resonates with you and you'd like to have a conversation about your specific situation, come to goodfinancial.com and click Contact Us, and we're always happy to start a conversation to help you prepare for your financial future.